When you identify solely as a human, you are moving yourself out of alignment with the truth of who you are, which is just an amazing, beautiful mix of divine frequency energy. When we call ourselves a human being and identify solely as a human, we are fragmenting off of our multidimensional energy, and we are affixing to a reality that we're identified as a specific species here in this manifested reality. Now, we are here, we're born into this body, and we've manifested this body so that this body can house our energy. This body exists within the sphere of our multidimensional energy, and it is manifested in a certain form. And this form allows you to best navigate this density, this reality, this time-space reality. But we've identified as a specific being which separates us from the rest of the cosmos, from the rest of the amazing beings and species that are here manifested within this universe, within this time-space reality. Now, as we do that and we continue to separate ourselves, we start thinking in a more linear way. We start thinking in terms of what data or information we're getting only from our five senses, and that further disconnects us. Now, we're going along and navigating this ascension process, this ascension journey, where we are opening or awakening to expanded versions of consciousness. And in this expanded consciousness manifests different species, different beings, different realities, the higher we go on the frequency ladder. Now, in order to start navigating that journey or turning your focus and your direction into an expansive state, an inclusive state, not a separate state, you need to start thinking a little bit less as a human being. Now, I'm not talking about the physical manifestation of your body, but it's time we start to detach the thought that the body is human. The body is the vehicle created by your higher self to navigate this time-space reality. When we start thinking in terms of that, we start to naturally open up to expanded versions of reality. We are no longer finding ourselves as separate, but part of a bigger whole. And the more that we open up to that larger whole, the more we rise in frequency and start to experience aspects of that amazing truth that you are a multidimensional being. When we do, go about our day and we're thinking and we're in program mode, we are living again as the human being. And it is so important now to really start to detach. I'm going to say that again. Detach from the idea or the programming that you are a human being. I remember a while ago, my Pleiadian guide, I was connected with her and we were communicating, and I was explaining to her problems that I have, problems that I perceived. And she said to me, the only reason you have problems is because you are identified as the human being. You are separating yourself from the expanded version of you, from the real version of you, which was me, my multidimensional energy. That's what she was telling me. So it was important for me to realize that when we see things through the lens of the human being, it's a very linear reality. It's a very linear, limited perspective. And that tends to bring up problems that need problem solving. And that keeps us on a three-dimensional timeline with a past, a present, and a future. And that breeds anxiety. It brings fear. It breeds uncertainty in not knowing the future and then trying to anticipate a future. So if we navigate our lives from that perspective, we're living in a very limited, linear, dense fashion. And we do that through the perspective of the five senses and identify ourselves as human. So if you're identified as a human and you see an ET, they're presenting themselves to you as an ET. If you're not attached to the identity of a human and you're seeing yourself as a multidimensional being, you're going to see the ET manifest in a different way. It's going to manifest as a star family member or a higher frequency version of you. So depending on where you are on that frequency ladder is how you're going to perceive your reality. So the more you're identified as the human being, the more separate you're going to perceive yourself from these higher frequency beings, these multidimensional beings that are now starting to come forward as the frequency of the planet solar system continues to rise. Okay, so if you're hanging on to the identity, you're hanging on to old ideas of how this energy will manifest and how you will perceive it. What lens are you looking through to experience that energy from? If you're the human being and identified as that, you're going to see these things as maybe foreign and separate. Okay, all these different multidimensional energies that are starting to come forward. Okay, you may see shadow beings, energy orbs, ETs, things like that. They're all going to be perceived as separate, something foreign to you, because you are identified as the human. Now, if you are reconnected with your multidimensional energy, you're able to align and get centered and get stabilized. You're going to bring forward another perspective, and that perspective is going to shift in a way that the beings or the orbs or whatever it is that you're experiencing are going to be perceived as a reflection of your energy, something that is happening within you. Your DNA activating, you're grounding more of your higher self, more of you is coming online, and it is beginning to reflect out into reality. You're going to start to experience that. So when your ET guides, your star guides come forward, you're going to perceive them as a reflection of the high frequency light that is moving through you. So you see it completely different. And when you can see it from that higher frequency lens, your entire reality starts to change. Now, again, we're not disassociating from the body. We're just distancing ourselves from the identity that we have formed as being human, because that is a separate idea. It's like different races of people on the planet. Okay, you could have this programming that someone from a different country is just different than you. They're just separate and they're different when they're really not. It's the idea that creates that separation. Okay, and it's the frequency that you're operating from that creates that separation. Same thing happens with our star family. As we rise in frequency, those barriers tend to melt away, or those borders tend to melt away. We don't see them as ETs. We see them as higher frequency beings that are beginning to manifest in our reality because we are rising in frequency. We've activated higher frequency light within us, and now we're able to perceive them. So the reality changes. So go throughout your day and bring awareness back to center, to your body, to know that this is a vessel, a vehicle that was created by you to be able to ground your higher frequency divine light. Detach from the idea that you are a human or a specific species, okay, because that is a limiting belief. That is a limited idea that is programming. That is because something needs a label when you're operating from a lower frequency perspective. When we could start to separate or detach from labels, we allow something completely new to come forward. And that's the experience, not the idea or label, something that we've affixed to something so that we could define it, so that we could better understand it. We allow for something completely new to move through us and to come forward. And when that happens, the information related to the thing that we're perceiving comes with it as well. Okay, so it's time that we start cutting those chains that are holding us to the identity of being human, the identity that we are separate. We are an aspect of source. We are an aspect of the whole. And we are returning to the awareness of that. So be inclusive with this energy that is moving through you, and know that as it starts to reflect out and you start to have more robust contact with your guides, know that they're an aspect of you that is now in your awareness, and that you are not human. You have taken a form that has been labeled as human, but we're shedding those labels. Okay, this is a form that was manifested so that you could ground your divine light and anchor it into the planet and assist in this whole beautiful, amazing process. When we could see ourselves just as light manifesting in this dense reality, all of those labels start to dissolve. And as they start to dissolve, more amazing, beautiful experiences start to come forward, because you are no longer attached to any specific idea or outcome based on an identity or a label. And that's how we get into our galactic sovereignty. And that's how we start to bring forward the truth of who we really are, our multidimensional energy. We can't bring that forward if we're identified as a human that is a separate being perceiving their reality only through 5 senses. It can't happen. So release yourself from those identities and watch how new energy lands and starts to manifest. Thank you.